Hello and welcome from across the multiverse. In the early days of British television and British radio, it was fairly common to mock certain jobs, certain professionalisms, certain work areas. Here's an example of what I mean.
Ground floor perfumery, stationery and leather goods, wicks and haberdashery, kitchenware and food going up. First floor telephones, gents ready-made suits.
My Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads. It's the rag train. It's the rag train.
And the British government wasn't immune to this mockery. On BBC Radio, there was a long-running series called The Men from the Ministry, and then later, in the 1980s, there was Yes Minister and its direct sequel, Yes Prime Minister. The men from the ministry work in the General Assistance Department. This fictional department allows access to the whole of government. And the basic format is that the General Assistance Department helps out specific government offices when they need additional resources. But due to a misunderstanding, instructions go misread and awry, and they are often misconstrued to comic effect. However, at the end, it always works itself out. The internal mechanism of the story is the misunderstanding caused by the carelessness. Usually, the General Assistance Department is assigned two separate tasks, but the notes are misread, leading to work being delivered in the wrong place. For example, why is the Air Force receiving blackout curtains and Whitehall offices parachutes? Usually there is an independent expert who would interpret this mistake as an act of genius, thinking outside the box if you like. And this allows the and this allows the General Assistance Department staff to get credit for creative thinking. Although Richard Lamb and his superior, either Lennox Brown or Hamilton Jones, depending on which series, are in the thick of the confusion, their secretary, Miss Murphy, is also a dab hand at making an already complicated situation even more surreal than it needs be. Similar to the men from the ministry, newly appointed Minister Jim Hacker is assigned to the fictional Department for Administrative Affairs. This fictional department, like the General Assistance Department beforehand, allows Hacker access to all government departments and activities. The main thrust here is that of the Minister and later Prime Minister Jim Hacker trying to reform elements of either the civil service or Britain. But he is always opposed by the top civil servant, Sir Humphrey Appleby, who rises through the ranks alongside the minister. A typical story would see Hacker read something on his way to work. He would then ask Sir Humphrey to change it, only to find bureaucracy stopping any proposed change. The disaster in Sir Humphrey's mind is to approach something boldly or imaginatively, and the humour is drawn from the need to modernise versus the need for consistency. It's never been made entirely clear whether the rivalry is purely professional or if it goes further. And added to this mix, there's Bernard Woolley, who's caught in the middle. He's the minister's private secretary, so reports direct to the minister, but he is also a permanent career civil servant, so he reports to Sir Humphrey Appleby. And to whom does he owe the ultimate allegiance? It has always been a British tradition to make jokes and write observations of those in authority, and these two programmes do so well. But mocking of people in authority isn't unique to the UK. For example, in the United States there is The Tonight Show or Saturday Night Live. But back to our programmes, and both series made their leads complete bunglers. If you were to compare it to the United States series The West Wing, for example, President Bartlet isn't just the most important, cleverest man in the room, he's the cleverest man in the world. Not so with Jim Hacker, Richard Lamb, April Murphin, Roland Hamilton-Jones and Derek Lennox Brown. These people are all well-meaning but bunglers, and they manage to achieve the right outcome by the story's end, but mostly through sheer luck. Whereas the men from the ministries had madcap antics, Yes Minister's humour was more wry, it was more cerebral. And yet both programmes are dated as they look at a United Kingdom as it was at the time that they were made. They are still very accessible and the humour translates well to this particular day. But I'm sure that many will have noticed that there are differences even just looking at these. For example, The Men from the Ministry has April Murphin, but there isn't a similar female lead character in Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister. Sure, we do get people like Mrs. Hacker, but she rarely gets involved with the plotting. And sure, Miss Murphy was a bungler, but that's just in keeping with her bosses and everything that's just going on around her. Now, this isn't so much to complain as just to say it is a product of its time. If you were to join the UK civil service today or enter politics, don't expect to find what you hear and watch in these two programmes. As much as bus drivers and shop staff are different to how they were portrayed in Are You Being Served and on the buses, so the civil service today is a completely different beast. I would suggest that you listen to one or watch the other and see what you think if you have not already caught these gems, because gems is what they are. They genuinely are good and they are funny, and the humour does translate very well to this day. And so that was my thoughts on these two programmes, and yeah, if you've seen them, heard them, watched them, I'll be grateful to hear what you've got to say. So until next time, may your news be good news and happy times and places. Farewell.